Welcome to our February edition of Dishin with Dave, joined by Fordham Director of Athletics Dave Roach, Emmanuel Berbari. Dave, how was your holiday weekend?
It was good. We had actually Salute to Heroes on Sunday was something special, where we honored Brian Mulkeen and Chief Shea, and the whole atmosphere with NYPD and the pipe and drum band here was a terrific day, good crowd, and close game.
Good time in Fordham Athletics right now, Dave. You have the latter stretch of basketball going into spring sports. What's the level of excitement right now for you?
I'll be going tomorrow to the swimming championship in Ohio, but it is kind of the end of the winter sports, and we remind our staff all the time. You got through the fall, go through the winter. It's really not the end of the year. You got to make sure you do what you need to do for the spring sports and everything. But there's a lot going on with championships for winter sports, basketball tournaments, and spring sports starting up.
Let's start with men's basketball. 1-11 overall in A10 play, 7-17 overall this season, and the team's hung around in a lot of these Atlantic 10 games, but still a 1-11 clip nonetheless. How do you assess the job that the coaching staff has done with the team this year?
A couple of things. I mean, you're right, we are 1-11, and that's been a disappointment, not what we expected to do. But as I remarked to somebody on Sunday at the Salute for Heroes game, I mean, we're playing hard, and we're playing great defense, and I like how we use our personnel now. We're not scoring, but at the end of the day, you got to score, and they keep track of who wins and who loses. So when we evaluate programs, we sit down with every coach at the end of the season, talk about what went on, what we could do to help them, and what we can do better and everything. And we've done that with every sports, including men's basketball, and we did it at the end of last year. And we all know what the expectations are coming into this year, myself and the coaches and everything. And we'll do that again right at the end of the season and look at everything. And one thing that we kind of started doing this year too is, besides the regular evaluation and the administrators of the various sports meeting with the coaches, at the end of the fall, I sat down with the administrator and the coach and kind of went over everything, ask a series of questions. But it's a constant evaluation, and we'll do that soon.
You mentioned the pillars of a program, defense, one of the things that Fordham can hang its hat on this year, one of the best defensive teams in the country. When you look at the future of men's basketball, what are some of those pillars that you're hoping to build into a great program?
It's interesting you say that, because in this day and age, with all the transfers and everything, it's hard to say like you used to be able to say, hey, we're a young team, they're gaining a lot of experience, and as you go through a cycle, when they're juniors and seniors, you're an experienced team. Unfortunately, with all the transferring these days, I'm not so sure you could say that we're a young team and look down the road. Richmond this year has had a lot of success. I'm not sure they have any seniors, or if they do, they have one. And people are already saying they're going to be one of the favorites next year in the A10. It'll be interesting, because you never know who's coming back and who isn't and everything. So, we always kind of evaluating kind of what we do and how we do it, and we're doing some things to help the program.
Speaking of contention, the women's basketball team in the midst of another great season, 17-8, 9-3 in A10 play. As per usual right now, heating up at the right time, winners of 5 in a row. It must be great year in, year out to see them get hot at the right portion of the season.
Yeah, and I was going to say surprise, surprise, but it's not a surprise. It's what Coach Gately does, and the way that we play, the way that she's built the program. We're always going to be solid, and we're coming into our own. And obviously last week to win a game at the buzzer on a shot by Bree Kavanaugh over Davidson was really kind of special, especially when she struggled a little bit shooting. But the thing about her, she's a heck of a competitor, and they ran a great play along the baseline. She got it and threw it up, and it went in, which is not a surprise either. But we play great defense, and nights when we play great defense, we're in every game. And nights when we shoot the ball well, we're running away from people.
A lot of parity right now in the Atlantic 10. On the women's basketball side, it seems like anybody can beat anybody. Why do you think that is?
But really, even in the A10, there's 3 or 4 teams every year that are kind of better than the rest. And we're fortunate that with Coach Gately and everything, we're one of them. Dayton is having a really good year again, which is not a surprise. They're kind of always been in that upper level. Davidson, with a couple of additional international kids, really kind of has come on this year. VCU has always been pretty good. St. Louis is always kind of in the running. So it's a balanced league, and really one of the goals of the A10 Women's Basketball is to really get to the point where we get some at-large teams, which has been a little bit of a struggle the last couple of years.
Some Atlantic 10 success out of your spring programs recently, starting with baseball, the defending Atlantic 10 champions, off to an 0-3 start. They played Florida International down in Miami. Coming off a 38-win season, which is incredibly tough to do in Northeast. So what excites you most about the returning players and the season as a whole coming up?
Well, as you say, we won the championship last year. We got a lot of returnees. Kind of goes back to what I said about basketball. You never know, a little bit different, but we got a lot of guys coming back. We have really outstanding pitching, and we're picked second in the A10, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We did go to Florida International this weekend. Struggled a little bit. We had been outside a little bit, but it's quite different for us to be outside a few days, and Florida International has probably been outside for 2 months. But it's always great to go there. And this weekend, baseball will go to Phoenix to play Grand Canyon, and Cal State Northridge. So that'll be more experience. And then you hope that really pays off when you get into the A10 season.
A couple of destinations for the softball team as well. They go to Houston, Texas, then they go to Fresno, California. 1-9 start. That's a more interesting scenario in that there is a lot of roster turnover there. A lot of youth for Melissa Inoue in her second season, and 7 straight A10 championships. So what intrigues you most about the challenge that is Fordham softball right now?
Well, even when we had some of our really exceptional teams, we started slow in the spring, especially with a couple of them. Now we have Maddie Augenbaugh back, our number 1 pitcher, so that's always a big plus. And as we all know, in softball, if you have great pitching, you have a great team. But once again, it's like you go to, down to Florida, or you go to California, Arizona, or wherever, and you're playing teams that have been outside for quite a bit. And we probably have been less on our field than baseball because of the infield being dirt, and it takes a while for that to come around. But we fully expect to contend for the A10 title again. Try and hope that this team doesn't put too much pressure on them to win 8 in a row. I always say when it comes to stuff like that, when I coached, this group has never won a title. So is this group going to win their first A10 title? Because every year is different, and you kind of put that in the past, and we'll see what happens.
Speaking of Maddie Augenbaugh, she's had an incredible career here at Fordham, and in speaking with her a couple of weeks ago, she was saying how that never satisfied attitude is what has made the softball program so great. Is that almost what you're speaking to, that we can always do better mindset?
Yeah, no, and she's probably as tough of an athlete as I've been around in a long time. And I said that to her and Chelsea last year after they won. But no, that's really kind of the attitude that they have, and that's great. And they always want to, no matter what happens, we could do a little better. And last year they were almost disappointed the way they won it because it got called up at UMass, and they declared us and GW co-champions, and kind of said, relax, you're A10 champs, you'll get rings and all that stuff. So, but that was not so much what was important to them, the ring. They wanted to be able to say we're A10 champions.
On the facility side of things, throughout the fall, we were talking about the completion of the renovated Rose Hill Gym with the new floor. Now one of the projects going on is with the McGinley Center, and that affects the student body, it affects the campus. For you, how does that affect the athletics?
Well, it's going to help us. I mean, it's going to take about 1.5 years, 2 years to complete it. But once it's completed, the whole project, even the renovation, the new part will be done in about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And in the new part, we'll have, our fitness center will go from 10,000 square feet to 20,000. So we'll actually have a free weight area that is what it should be. So one of the things that will happen is right now where we have some free weights above the swimming pool by the squash courts, that'll come out of there and we'll put a classroom meeting space area. And when they do the renovated part of McGinley, We're going to pick up about 16 to 17,000 square feet of space for athletic needs, and we'll do a state-of-the-art strength and conditioning center. We'll do a refueling station, and we'll do some other things with the remaining 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. That'll allow us to take strength and conditioning current space and make that outdoor sports training room. So you'd have football, both soccer, baseball, and softball going in there, which will alleviate a lot of the congestion in our current sports medicine area.
Dave, exciting stuff. Thanks as always for doing this, and best of luck in spring sports.
Thank you. Pleasure to be around you.
FordhamSports.com, Fordham Athletics YouTube page. Thanks for joining us.